Now that we know a little bit about how these projects look, we're going to start with a topic in programming called variables, which is a term you've probably heard in math before, but in computer science and programming it does mean something a little bit different. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a new project. So we're going to go into our documents folder, into the Java projects, and we're going to make a new project. So we'll do a new folder, and we're going to call it variables, because that's going to be the focus of this topic, but there will be a couple more topics we also talk about. So same as before, we're in the variables folder, and I'll maximize this. We can see we're in variables, so we'll just go up here and type CMD to open our command prompt. In this case, we're going to run our Gradle init command again, and we're going to use everything that we did before. So again, Gradle will sometimes take a little bit longer to start up the first time you use it. I believe I've restarted my computer since the last video, so that's why it's taking a little bit longer to boot up than it normally would. But when it boots up, we're going to get the same options as before. So again, we're going to go with an application. So that's the option 2. And then we should just accept all the other defaults. We're going to accept Java. We're not going to split up our functionality. We're just going to stick with Groovy. We'll stick with JUnit 4. The project name is variables. The source package is going to be called variables. And then we get build successful and our project is done. So now we have a project in here. Now, if you set all the options for Visual Studio like I did, you can just click inside this folder and you should get the Open with Code option. And that will open your project for you just like we've seen before. If not, then we can open up Visual Studio Code from the Start menu, which if you have closed everything, this is what you'll see. You might see a previous project open. But in any case, we're just going to go to File and Open Folder. Even if you already have a project open, you can do this and it will open the new project for you. And again, we're going to go to Documents, Java Projects. We can go ahead and open the Variables folder and we can see that Variables is selected here. Now here, App is selected, which I don't want. So I want to make sure that Variables is what's selected. And I just select the folder and it will open it up for me. And again, sometimes you have to wait a minute, make sure that your extensions all get activated so that nothing behaves unexpectedly. I've got LiveShare installed and it booted up here. And then I can close this tab and I'll navigate down App, Source, Main, Java, Variables, app.java. And so last time we talked a little bit about packages. In this case, remember our source package is variables, and notice that our app now lives in the variables package, just like we expected. I'm going to close this file for a minute. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start deleting the things we don't need. And this is going to kind of get our project ready for us to play with. And there's not too much we need to delete. The first thing we're going to delete is we're going to go to this test folder, Java, and then this app.test.java file. We're going to right click on that and we are going to delete this file. We don't need to run any tests for what we're working on right now, and this test file will just generate some errors that we won't want to deal with later anyway. But when we get into testing, hopefully toward the end of these lessons, we can play with these some more. So we're going to just remove that to the recycle bin, and that file is gone. Notice that the folders are still here, test, Java, variables, all that's still there, but we got rid of that file. Now we're going back to the app.java file. And now notice I got the run debug just now pop up on mine. Sometimes that does take a minute in opening and closing files, so just be patient if it's not there. We're going to delete these lines here. And when we do this, we want to be very careful because there are these braces. Now, one of the tools that you'll get with Visual Studio Code is that when you click on a brace, it will show you where the matching brace is with a box. I have bracket pair colorizer 2 installed, and so it's also saying that this pinkish purple brace goes with this pinkish purple brace. So this public string get greeting purple brace down to line 9 here, I'm just going to delete that. And so it's very good to get in the practice of knowing what to delete and what not to delete, because I could have very easily messed up and not deleted the extra curly brace, and now I get all this red pop up. This curly brace is in red, the name of the file's in red, because my file's not formatted right. And notice if I go to app here, I get this yellow curly brace, and it looks like Visual Studio Code thinks that this next curly brace is the curly brace that goes with this first one. And so that means that everything that belongs to app has to live between these two braces, but I've got all this stuff down here. So that's why it's important to make sure you delete your braces in pairs, and that if you ever get a weird error like that, where you have at least one red brace down at the bottom, and there's a squiggle here, you get syntax errors, and everything's in red over here, you may have forgotten to delete a curly brace, or you may have deleted too many curly braces. So be careful with that. So I'm going to save that. So that's one step. And then the next step is we have this line, this whole line here from system down to the semicolon. We're just going to delete all that text. And so right now the file is pretty empty, but now it's kind of in an ideal position to have work done to it. So deleting code is something you'll need to practice a little bit so that you don't delete the wrong symbols, you don't delete too many symbols, you don't delete not enough symbols. This is a common pitfall when people are first getting started, and that's because they don't know kind of what these symbols mean. In Java, a pair of curly braces signify a block of code. Now that can mean a lot of things in a lot of contexts. For example, up here, these curly braces section off a block of code called a class. But these curly braces here in the pinkish purple color signify a block of code sectioned off called a method. And so there's a few other types of blocks that we'll see, but just know that a pair of curly braces signify a section of code called a block, and it could be a few different contexts. So main is a method, and when we say method, generally what we mean is that it is a block of code that is logically separate from all the other code, that performs some task. It does some work. It generates some data. It consumes some data. It's just a very generic block of data that can be isolated. And so we'll see more about methods later, but that's kind of the picture you have in your mind, is that a method does something. That may not be visible to a person, but it is definitely visible to the computer. So keep that kind of in your mind, that a method does something. A class, on the other hand, is something. And so this is a kind of a concept to get used to if you're familiar with English and other languages and grammar. Think about a class as a noun and a method as a verb. The class is app, it is the thing, and main is something that it does. So when we execute the program, we are telling the app to use its main method. And again, this is all kind of hand wavy right now and not very specific and not very technically correct, but it is a good general concept to kind of get you started. There will be more details that come out later, but that's kind of where we look at it right now. And classes aren't the only things, and there's a few different kinds of things in Java that we'll get to. There's one more concept I want to talk about, what we see in this file that we didn't really address before, and that's this stuff up here in green that start off with this / and asterisk. This is all what's called a comment, and a comment is text in the code that doesn't do anything. When this code gets built and then run, this comment, this green text, is going to be totally blown away. It will never be seen by the computer. And this is only for humans. It's a way to leave messages to somebody else reading the code or to yourself when you're reading the code later. A common saying that we have in computer science and programming is that code you wrote 6 months ago may have just been written by somebody else. And that could be 6 months ago, it could be 6 weeks ago, it could be 6 days ago. There's a few ways to make your code readable and understandable, but sometimes there could be instances where that's just not possible. You want to avoid those as best you can. You want to use comments as sparingly as you have to. But if you need to leave yourself a note or leave somebody else a note, comments are a way to do it. And there's a couple of ways of writing comments. If you do 2 forward slashes, you can add what's called a single line comment. If I want to add another comment on the next line, I start with 2 more forward slashes. The other common type of comment you'll see is called a multi-line comment. And it looks something like this. I'm going to simplify what we see here. But I can start it off with a forward slash and an asterisk. And I can say this is a multi-line comment. It spreads over more than one line. And when I'm ready to finish it, I just add another asterisk and another forward slash. And then that's a whole comment. And that's similar to what we see up here. These extra asterisks aren't necessary. They don't make it a better comment necessarily. So this is a single line comment. This is a multi-line comment. Now there's one more way you'll see comments, and it's really just a very special multi-line comment. And you saw it just a second ago, but I'm going to do it again. I'm going to go to line 6 here and add a new line. I'm going to type forward slash, asterisk, asterisk, and press enter. When comments are formatted like this, we generally call it a JavaDoc comment. And a JavaDoc comment is just a special multi-line comment that gives extra information about the code. And what that means is you can actually run your code through special tools that will generate PDF and website documents that explain your code. It provides like a user manual for your code. And JavaDocs are a built-in comment tool that kind of make that easier for you. So I can put a JavaDoc comment there. I can put one here. And notice here I get these other weird syntax, at param, args. That's just another level of detail to a JavaDocs comment. Don't worry too much about what that actually means right now. It's not super important for your understanding. What is more important is that you know that there are several ways comments can appear. We have a single line comment, we have a multi-line comment, and we have a JavaDoc comment. This line up here, I would consider a multi-line comment rather than a JavaDoc comment, but practically there is no difference. For a multi-line comment, all you need is it starts with a forward slash and one asterisk, and it ends with an asterisk and a forward slash. Everything else in between is actually just part of the comment. So down here, I didn't have any extra asterisks. That's fine. Up here, there are extra asterisks, and same here, and same here. Those are still just part of the comment. They don't actually do anything from a comment perspective, but they do handle some formatting for the JavaDocs. And so again, remember, if you want JavaDocs, you just do forward slash, asterisk, asterisk, and then Visual Studio Code will say, hey, you're writing a JavaDoc comment. Press enter, and it fills out the rest of the body for you. Same up here, forward slash, asterisk, asterisk. Now, Visual Studio Code didn't recognize JavaDoc that time, but we did. And I'll do it again down here just so we can see it again. Java.comment, enter, and we get it. If you ever mess up and it doesn't quite come out the way you want, you just delete the whole comment and start again. Generally, you want the comment to be at the same tab level. All right, see how that doesn't look quite right? But one way to fix that is you can press on Windows Alt+Shift+F, and it will reformat everything for you. It even reformatted my multi-line comment down here that didn't look super fantastic. If you ever forget what the commands are, you can press Ctrl+Shift+P. It will bring up what's called the command palette. And I wanted to do my formatting. So I can say, okay, format document is Alt+Shift+F or Shift-Alt+F, or I can just click on the button. So that's a lot of the options you have available to you. So that kind of takes us through comments, and we will continue with this project into the variables video rather than kind of squeeze it all into one. This will be a little bit shorter than most of them, but we'll keep working in the variables project, and I'm going to go ahead and just delete these extra comments I put in because they'll just clutter up the workspace. To save your file, Ctrl+S, just like always, or you can go to File and then click Save to save your work. But yeah, we'll stop here with comments, and then we'll actually pick up on variables in the next video.